just imagine, Pete, that you're at the court and you haven't got much time. The judge isn't going to put up with you very long. So you've got really just a brief...
I'll just go.
Yeah, go.
Okay, so if we have a look at the paperwork, what we first notice is on the arrest warrant that there are 3 charges, and one of them's been scribbled out with pen, and then it's noted further down the page, you can see there that there still remains a listing for the charge. Well, that charge itself is completely fabricated. If you have a look on the other page, you can see that same charge appears in 2013. And they've taken it, moved it forward, and given it a new number, and created a false charge to embellish the arrest warrant, which is actually unlawful. And if we have a look at the breach of periodic detention, okay, that's a breach of periodic detention for a sentence that was given in 2013 that already I've been to court for, and is the actual instigator for the second part of the false arrest warrant that you can see there. And if you have a look there, you can see that actual community work sentence was issued in 2013 for the cannabis charge. And then if you also look on the paperwork, what you see is that there's a driving charge as well, and it's been inactivated because of COVID. So, like I'm dealing with that and getting to the court, that's the actual only real charge. The breach of periodic detention charge.
Can you explain what the driving charge is, just so that people can see the link between...
Oh, okay, so that's when Monica got a bad headache. We were driving back from court in Christchurch. Monica got a bad headache, so I drove for her, like in a medical situation. And we had Indigenous plates on, and police in Christchurch had been told to look out for us from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. And so when they pulled us over, they of course didn't listen to my medical explanation that it was a medical emergency on a one-way street, and I had to get the car off the one-way street, and out of that area because you were not able to medically. So that's where that came from, and that's in Christchurch, and I'm here in the Waikato, so it's very difficult for me.
So it was about a year ago in Christchurch. It was a year ago in Christchurch.
Yeah, so when I was driving, they had already, through no warrant and no registrations on my own personal vehicle, created enough demerit points to say that they could take my license. And so they took Monica's car because apparently I wasn't licensed, right? So that's what they do is they never used to be able to do that, but now they've demerit point system is actually designed to create a system whereby you can enforce bad driving. You can enforce people to stop bad driving by giving them demerits for bad driving, but now they've made demerit points for no warrant and no rego, so that they can take your license off you and then take your car, for nothing to do with driving.
Yeah, but also they gave me assault charges and everything. Like this one thing from this one car issue when you drive has caused so much shit for us all, and it all stems from Nanaimo Huta. So explain what else happened.
Okay, so in the incident when they pulled us over for the number plate and they found out I was driving, Monica was not happy with the fact that the police had openly suggested that we were being targeted by a ministry, and that they were in fact taking her car. So she tried protesting and went to get something out of the car, and the policeman tried to stop her from going to get something out of the car, and then when she had already moved forward, he stood in her way, and she bumped into him, and he goes, "That's assault." And then he proceeded to arrest her after purposefully getting in the way of her, when she wasn't actually trying to get to him, she was trying to get to something in her car, and he stepped in the way and got banged into and then said that was assault. He then tried to put the handcuffs on, and Monica's dress blew up, and she tried to push the dress down, and he goes, "Oh, that's resisting."
And I had that, it was just after the Oranga Tamariki video, and I had that little red dress on, and it was blowing up.
Yeah, I know, and it's ridiculous that he did that. He did that on purpose. Even the big cop that actually came along and saw that it was a situation like that, she actually held your dress down, remember, when you walked to the car with her, that guy holding, the policeman holding your hands, so you...
It was Penny Harrison, the police officer in
Penny
Christchurch.
Harrison was holding your hands, and the woman cop was holding your dress down for you. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is, Peter, can you explain... Oh, no, I'll explain it later. I wanted to explain the whole situation, how this one car situation has turned into them trying to say that you had cultivated weed. And
Okay, we'll go over the whole thing. So that incident there, the incident of pulling me over,
which was on the 22nd of January. So was it 20 of January or 2022 of January?
Oh, well, it was around then. I'm not sure on the exact date because I'm not looking at the paperwork right now. So anyway, what it is that ever since that incident with the vehicle, they've tried to create a thing where they can get me into court, right? And I went around begging about, our political stance, and that's been, and so did you, and that was responded by the ministries with creating false charges to try and rein us in, including the incident with the car. Okay, so we were not doing anything wrong. You did not assault any police, and you did not resist arrest.
And we have a right to drive around with native plates. But also, it led to a situation where the police came around to arrest you for those bogus charges of the car and the extra charges that they gave you for cultivating weed and not turning up to PD.
Yeah, but you think about that. How can they give me a charge of cannabis, which is the initiating charge for the PD, and the sentence? So it's the sentence and the charge both lumped on as false charges.
At the same time?
At the same time. It's ridiculous. I don't know why they think they can get away with it. How do you... I mean, let's be honest, when we look at the thing, when we look at it on the balance of it, a court has falsified documents in order to create a situation where they can get an arrest warrant because the other arrest warrant for the driving charge was inactivated.
So not only that, let's start from the start. Now, I think this is important. Don't interrupt while I tell the timeline. Okay, so as soon as Nanaia Mahuta got elected of November 2020, she informed the New Zealand Police that...
Appointed, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. She wasn't even elected. She became the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade.
Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Jacinda Ardern.
So as soon as that happened, she informed the police and instructed the police to that she didn't recognise our native and indigenous tribal cards, identity cards, which caused the Christchurch police to target me. Now, so they were targeting me, but Peter happened to be driving my car with we had the native plates on. So that happened on his birthday, roughly, like the 22nd of January, while we were down in Christchurch. Now, so I got targeted, and then just by fluke, I got a headache, and Peter started driving for me. Then he got targeted. This is when they falsified a whole bunch of false reports against Peter. But not only that, when Peter's best mate came in at another later time up in Hamilton, tried to stop the police from attacking Peter and arresting Peter, Peter's mate then got done for obstruction.
Charges.
Then the police came around to Peter's friend's house. Peter just happened to be there with his son playing video games. And then Peter's mate's kid got his arm broken. And coincidentally, a year prior to that, the twin brother had got his neck broken by the same police officer Brandon Edgar from Hamilton. So this is what Peter has produced today for everybody to see. It's for the purpose of evidence, because he goes into court tomorrow, the 28th of March 2022. He goes into the Hamilton court. We are simply making this video so that people can see the evidence for themselves of how this elaborate
conspiracy to bring false charges.
Yes, which is a crime. Well, it's in the Crimes Act. It's Section 115.
Section 115.
Yeah. So not only that, and Nanaia Mahuta, as a minister of New Zealand government, she has broken the Policing Act, Section 30, which is command and control. No police officer may, whilst on duty, take direction, command or control from a minister of the Crown. So we've got massive evidence against them all. So here we are. We're just exposing them. And yeah. Anything else, Pete? Did you want to wrap it up?
No, that's pretty much it. You should be able to stitch that up into a proper thing. And,
stitch that up. I'll be able to stitch that up, just like you're getting stitched up.
That's what I'm saying it for. Right, paperwork in front of me, glasses on, ready to go.
Okay, so there's 3 paperworks that we haven't discussed. Now, it's the paperwork from the Department of Corrections, the charging document, where Ian Hadman of the New Zealand Department of Corrections lays the...
complaints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain that piece of paper?
Sure. Okay, so if we have a look here, it says that it's filed in the Hamilton District Court on the 4th of February 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got a stamp here, 4th of February 2021, High District Court, Hamilton, by Ian Hadman. So Ian Hadman says that I haven't done that. I have done this, committed this offence. So on the 1st of December 2020, being a person who was sentenced to 130 hours community work on the 6th of June 2013. Do you get that? So what it says in this document is that on the 1st of December 2020, being a person sentenced on the 6th of June 2013, failed to report.
Yes,
so,
you've outlined the dates, but can you explain?
Okay, so what it's saying in that charging document is that a sentence was issued on the 6th of June 2013 that I failed to report to on the 1st of December 2020.
Oh, okay. Elaborate slightly more for all those people who don't understand.
How the hell would I even know? I've been to court in 2014, 2017, 2017, and they didn't say anything. Okay. But somehow, on the 1st of December 2020, they decided to say that you didn't bother turning up to a sentence that you were given in 2013.
You know, Nanaia, I looked at when Nanaia Mahuta became the Foreign Affairs Minister. Now, it was the 6th of November 2020. It was 5 days after. It was 6 or 7 days after we moved the Kupapa Suppression Action at Waitangi.
Yeah, 6 days after, and then less than 30 days after that, there's a false charge being laid against me for a sentence apparently that I didn't complete in 2013, but I've been to court 3 times by record since then. Nothing's been mentioned, and I actually already know that I went to court for that. I went to court for the breach of periodic detention in 2013, and the probation service decided to pull the charges. I remember exactly what the judge said. Peter Spiller, he said to me, You can stop there, Mr. Martin. It's your lucky day. The prosecuting authority has decided to withdraw the charges.
Is that the Chief Judge Spiller?
That's Spiller, Professor Peter Spiller, 6 degrees, teaches at the University of Waikato.
And what was his book?
I can't remember what his book, but I know what it was about. It was about the debacle with the accidental pen mistake of repealing the 1952 Constitution Act instead of the 1852 one.
Oh, that's right. And that's the thing where that's the time in 1986 when New Zealand became an unlawful entity, a corporation. They shot themselves in the foot with that. So he was he the guy who made that mistake?
No, he was the guy that noted it and wrote a book about it, because he's a constitutional expert and an expert on Roman law.
And then he just happens to let you off.
He didn't let me off. I put him in a bind. You know how we put them in a bind? And then the prosecuting authority decided to withdraw in order to save face because of the embarrassment that was going to ensue from everyone finding out about it.
And here we are, how many years later? And this is quite
9.
interesting. You never told me this, Pete. This is actually really interesting. So have you got the paperwork of Judge Spiller?
I can dig it out. It's an email and I can give it to you.
Yep. So can you please just email me the ruling that Judge Spiller...
I've got a recording of me in front of Peter Spiller, right? Okay, and what happened was I had my paperwork in front of him, and he's sitting there in his pulpit, and I go, have you got my paperwork? And he goes, yes, I have it. And I go, have you read it? And he goes, yes, I have. And I go, do you understand it? And he goes, no, I don't.
Hey, can you send me the audio?
Yep. Oh, no, it's a video.
Send me the video now.
And what happened last time I came to the High Court and you convicted me, my person, for being a person, and I said that I wasn't the person. You just said, the people said that for the purposes of the act that I'm a person. And then when I appealed that, the Court of Appeals said they didn't have jurisdiction to argue about jurisdiction or persons. So that means you don't have jurisdiction to argue about jurisdiction of persons either, which is you're actually subordinate to that superior court, which means you are of limited jurisdiction and you don't have the wholesale jurisdiction and impunity that you claim you do. Yeah. Do you understand them? No. Yeah, of course you don't.
I can't believe you didn't even tell me this.
It's been on my YouTube since it happened.
Okay, well, can you just send that to my email?
Yep, I'll do that right away.
Okay, so that's quite interesting. Let's go to the next piece of paper.
Sure.
Which is the...
Which one?
Which one haven't we dealt with? Which one haven't
we dealt with the warrant to arrest and the false arrests, how they constructed those 2 other charges because they didn't have an arrest warrant on the actual charge, which is drove while suspended.
Let's take a look at the notice of bail to the defendant, and the signatory is Deputy Register B. Cochin. Is there anything on that piece of paper that you can explain, or is that just...
Yes, okay, we can go over that. Okay, so on that one, you can see that there's actually 3 charges. The charges against the defendant have been adjourned, right? And they're still trying to get me to report. Yet they're going to try and go ahead with their false thing by making another report. But if we have a look here at the following bail, right? Notice of bail. There's 2 notices of bail.
Mm-hmm.
The following notice of bail was signed by Carol Clark.
Okay, now listen to me. Don't interrupt.
Just wait a second. I just need to tell you this. That on the second charge, right, on the second notice of bail, the cannabis charge is missing, right? And so are the conditions to report.
Okay, now can you listen to me? Okay, so... obviously, there has been an elaborate conspiracy to bring false charges against you and me and basically anyone who's friends with you. That's what it looks like, right?
Yes.
Now, who are we going to lay the charges against? Can you please name everybody we are laying the charges against and why?
Well,
Just briefly.
Okay, so the police, right? They don't have. All right, so we look at this warrant to arrest, right? This is the police document. This is the document that the police got, right? Warrant to arrest, right? On there is 3 charges, okay, on the warrant to arrest. But if you have a look, 2 of those charges, the police, the cannabis charge, the police didn't lay.
Who
Right?
laid that?
Well, if we look at the notice of bail to the defendants, right, the cannabis charge is on that.
Okay, this is getting confusing. I just want you to list the names of people.
I want you to just listen to them because it's going to come apparent in a second. All right?
Okay.
So the police have received a warrant to arrest that contains 3 charges. The court have issued a notice of bail on 3 charges, right? Well, the 3rd charge, the cultivate cannabis, that can only be laid by the police, but they didn't lay it. So how did it get there? How is it on the warrant to arrest? And how is it on the notice of bail?
Well, how did it get there? Can you just start naming the names of
I can't tell you how it got there, but B. Cochran, Deputy Registrar, he's wet ink signatured the notice of bail to the defendant with the false charge on it. And this person here, EMI S69, has issued a warrant to arrest with a cultivate cannabis charge, false cultivate cannabis charge on it. So those 2 people are the 2 people that have produced written documents and wet ink signatures or applied their name to the document. So those are the people I have to start with.
Okay, so Carol Clark is innocent because she obviously didn't place the...
Well, she hasn't done anything wrong. Okay, so if we look at Carol Clark, she signed a document that has no false bail conditions of reporting to community corrections and no false charge.
Okay, so Carol...
Apart from the breach of community work, which has been laid by that officer there, who may be a tertiary person being sued, Ian Hadman.
Okay, so just please quickly list the police officers who you're going to be laying charges against.
So EMI S69 is the arresting officer, so he falsely arrested me. Okay, and if it's not his fault, it's whoever issued the arrest warrant to him.
So Penny Harrison, he's...
Well, he laid false charges against you.
And he also laid the charges against you, because how did he get the driving charge? You got the driving charge because of him.
Yeah, but what he did to me was not what he did to you, okay? So he has some sort of legal ability to say that I might have done something wrong, okay? But that's fine. I've got a legal argument for that.
Okay. So we'll move along to the next one. So B. Cochin you're laying charges against him because...
Well, he signed a document that contains a definite false charge of cultivate cannabis. That's completely not true. I wasn't even anywhere near the place. Nobody cultivated cannabis. There is no cannabis. There is no material. There is no address. There is no police report. There's nothing.
Okay, the next person...
would have to be Ian Hadman, who actually says he's made a thing there saying that I didn't report on the 28th day of March, right? But if we have a look here, where is that other document?
It's the charging document where the date of offence he's saying is the 1st of December 2020, but for something that happened in 2013. So that's a fraudulent document, right? The charging document there that he signed.
Yeah, so that's definitely it. He's definitely said on the 1st of December 2020, I didn't do something that was sentenced to in 2013.
Nanaia Mahuta. So I've got those 3 police that I can call as witnesses that told me that the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade basically instructed them to
start targeting us.
Well, they said, it was over the C-Pass cards, the identity cards, and the plates. So that's a separate thing though. I'll have to, because it was me, I would have to initiate a court case. So we've got 3 separate court cases. We've got you, me, and the kids who had their neck and their arm broken. So
they're already well underway with their one.
Okay, and then you're going to be presenting yours
my one
today.
Starting today.
And then it's just me. Then I have to. But I must say, last year in the Christchurch court, I did inform a judge down there, Judge Driscoll, that Nanaia Mahuta had broken the Policing Act 2008, Section 30, Command and Control. But he said his findings came back and he said that there was no evidence of that. And I said, well, I need to bring the police in as witnesses because they told me. And it was that red-head police. Remember when Daryl got his car? It was that red-headed policeman. And he was kind of nice. And he told me.
He's a smart ass, though.
Yeah, but they're kind of naive. They didn't know. Like a year ago, a lot of the cops didn't know. A year later, like right now, there's a lot of cops that know the kaupapa now.
Yeah.
They do. There's no excuse now. But a year ago, I can kind of forgive the Christchurch cops because they didn't. They're Christchurch cops. They're not Northland cops. They're Christchurch cops. But these Hamilton cops, like...
They know what they're doing.
Yeah. So, okay, I think we've got enough here. I'm going to let you get prepared for your court case. Is there?
Okay.
There was a couple of things I just wanted you to wrap up, and just for in terms of the radio show.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make the comment of how many times has Nanaia Mahuta gotten away with instructing police to target other Māori?
Listen, the truth is that there is a old boys club kind of scenario with the ministers and the ministries, okay? So, the Ministry of Justice always accepts instructions from the government.
Yeah, they're not supposed to, eh?
No, just let that sink in for a minute. They even admit it.
Yeah. Yeah. Any final words, Pete, before you go into court today?
No final words. Just that at some point, the corruption has to be addressed. So people have to wake up from their naivety. They have to come to the conclusion that, unfortunately, it seems that a lot of the people that have been running the show are disingenuous. They really don't seem to care about us at all.
But I'd like to just put in a couple of things. Not all cops are bad, obviously. Not all ministers are bad. Not all ministers...
There's no homogenous groups.
So I think we should wrap that up there, Peter, because that's been quite an informative video. We hope that you can share this video because there will be other people in similar situations that don't know how to approach a situation where you have been set up by the police.
Yeah.
And hopefully just by highlighting the various, points of interest in the evidence, that you'll be able to do the same thing if you've become...
It's actually all in there. Okay, so the protections are there. The thing about legislations, government continuously modifies it in their favour, but the Law Society and the lawyers that construct it, which are constitutional lawyers and that, they actually construct it with the protections in place. It's successive governments that come along later and remove those protections. Well, there is a few people that seem to be consistently harassing people, slanderous things, and just like posting it out there on social media and stuff, and not ever thinking about the fact that they may actually be making themselves legally liable and lawfully liable for, false accusations.
That's a really good point, because these police officers and these, Department of Corrections officers and just even people, general public and police, ministers and things, I don't think they realise that they are legally responsible for conspiring.
An attitude of that they're untouchable for so long.
Yeah, but there are still a lot of good protections, and so we recommend people start reading the acts that affect them. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we should wrap that up, and good luck in court.
All right, so maybe I'll let you know what happens.
Bye.
I want the prosecuting authority to offer proof of their jurisdiction and their right to interdict with living beings and not persons, because there's not a single law that you have that applies to living beings. It all applies to persons. Living beings and humans and men and women are not mentioned in the law at all, only persons, and they're clearly defined in the Interpretations Act and many other acts. So I'm saying that I'm not a person, and I'm not that person. And what happened last time I came to the High Court and you convicted me, my person, for being a person, and I said that I wasn't the person, you just said, the people said that for the purposes of the act that I'm a person. And then when I appealed that, the Court of Appeals said they didn't have jurisdiction to argue about jurisdiction or persons. So that means you don't have jurisdiction to argue about jurisdiction of persons either, because you're actually subordinate to that superior court, which means you are of limited jurisdiction and you don't have the wholesale jurisdiction and impunity that you claim you do. Yeah. Do you understand them? No. Yeah, of course you don't. Just like I don't understand you. I'm not Mr. Martin, by the way.
Now, just to check what I've got from you today, I've got a new birth certificate.
That's correct.
Showing you are Peter James Marston, you'll see a circle.
That's a person, but I'm also...
That's you?
That's the person. That's a person. That's a person that's registered with another authority. Okay? An alternative authority to the New Zealand government. Who is it? Who am I? We don't deal with who I am here, we only deal with persons. So that's the person that you're dealing with there, that person. A document. Yeah, well, what's a... Excuse me, sir. May I inquire from you what a certificate is? Okay, a certificate is a security document, isn't it? Indicating the terms, nature and ownership of the security. Okay. That's right, that's where that person indemnifies me. Dissolves corporations. Yep. Yep. Correct. And on the bottom of there is a filing number that's on the government law library that holds those documents. Just that you and I don't have a contract, and that I don't have a contract with the New Zealand Police. I also have acknowledgement from the New Zealand Government regarding the relationship that they and I share. You are part of the New Zealand Government, and therefore you, by extension, have to share that same relationship.
Close to the